Come on, guys, stay close. Johnny, come up here. Hold my wing while we cross the street. Johnny? No! What's up, guys? Welcome back to DudeRoll. Glad you guys could make it. I appreciate you checking out the video. Today, we're going to be looking at Ducklings. Ducklings is a 4-player roll and move game. And it is self-published by Deckhead Games. It's a group of 3 individuals. And they put this out through Kickstarter. So I think they were, fairly successful for what they were looking to do. I think you can still get the game through their website. I think you might be able to pre-order it or something for when they release it for retail, if they still decide to do that. I guess I'm not sure. So in Ducklings, you will be in charge of a family of ducks. And you and your partner will be moving the mother and father ducks along a path of biome cards, trying to get from the lake to the pond or from the pond to the lake before winter. And you'll be moving along these biome cards, and they represent different potentially hazardous locations that you and your ducklings must travel through to get to safety before winter. So as you travel along this path of cards and you land on these different biomes, you'll flip them over and there will be various choices that you have to make. Sometimes they're positive choices and sometimes they're negative choices, and you have to pick between, maybe the lesser of 2 negative things. And most of the time they are negative. You also have 3 ducklings that will be following you along this path. And it's your job to keep them safe and try to get as many of them as you can from your starting location to the ending location. And you will lose some of your ducklings. If you lose all of your ducklings, you lose the game. The winner is whichever family can get their parent ducks to the opposite side with the most living ducklings. So throughout the game, your ducklings will be given affliction tokens, and many times when you land on a biome, that's what's going to be happening, is you're going to have to choose to maybe move back spaces, which then prolongs your journey, or you'll have to give your ducklings affliction tokens. And so you're trying to manage which ones are going to be getting hurt, and if any duckling gets 3 affliction tokens on it, generally I think there's one that maybe can take 4, I think Mo. If any of them get 3 affliction tokens, they die. You lose your poor, defenseless baby duckling. And as your ducklings begin to pass away, you will then be able to roll a higher-sided die, meaning you have a chance to then move more spaces and proceed more quickly to your destination. So let's take a look at some of the cool stuff in the game, and let's take a look at some of the lame stuff in the game. So I'm going to try and go through this list fairly quickly. So the first cool thing that I liked about the game was that it is a quick, light game, at least mechanically, and I think that's what they were shooting for, and so I think they achieved that. It doesn't take much to set it up or tear it down. It's light mechanically, it's a roll and move game at its core, and so I think even people that aren't gamers can relate to this game. You can jump in and play with 4 people, and it's not too much of an investment. Another cool thing about this game that I really liked was the artwork. They have this painted, brushed look to it. It's really artsy, and I think that really aids in what they were trying to accomplish with the game. I think it really supports the feel and the vibe of the game. So I think the artwork's really cool. I think the ducklings are painted really really cool. I think it looks great as far as the art is concerned. As far as the graphic design goes, like layout and some things in the rule book, I will address that in just one little minute. Another thing I liked was that even though it is a roll and move game, there is a little room for strategic play. There is a little bit of planning that goes into the game. I think one of the most crucial strategic moments in the game is like at the beginning when you are choosing your ducklings. The combination of the ducklings' talents together, I think, is really important. Their talents can only be used once per game, and so how you combine those talents in the game could, in my opinion, decide whether you win or lose the game. And so I think that this game, just dips its little webbed feet into the strategic waters, and so I appreciate that. Another cool factor, another cool thing, they kind of tote this game, boast about this game for being this emotional, experience. I think on their Kickstarter page they call it a heart-wrenching co-op. I don't think I would go as far as to say it's heart-wrenching, but there are some emotional aspects to the game. You're taking care of 3 little ducklings. I think if you aren't a parent, you can still have some of these same feelings, but I think if you are a parent, then it maybe hits you a little bit more, or you maybe have the ability to receive some of these emotions more easily, I guess. There's little eulogies on the back of your duckling cards. So when you one of your ducklings dies and you flip over the card, you have to read this little eulogy, and you're like, oh my gosh. And so there is that emotional buy-in with this game. So I liked that. I appreciated that. I thought it was cool. Another cool thing, the theme of the game, very simply. I think that being able to be a parent duck and try to get my ducklings to safety, I think that's cool. I haven't played a game where I get to do that. I've never played a duck game where I'm protecting my ducklings and I get to play it with my wife, and we are actually parents and we're taking these baby ducks. I've never played a game like that, so I thought that the theme was original, and so that was cool. I think that the coolest thing about this game is actually the roll and move system that they have in the game. Now, roll and move games can be really boring. Really, obviously chancy. Just, in my opinion, they can just be really lame. But this game does something cool. So you start off rolling a 4-sided die. Okay, you have these little ducklings. It's slow moving because you're trying to keep them with you and whatever. So they have a 4-sided die to represent that. Well, as you begin to lose your ducklings, so let's say one of your 3 ducklings dies, you then get to roll a 6-sided die, because now your party, your group, your family is smaller, and so you can move a little more quickly. So as more ducklings pass away, well, let's say you lose your 2nd duckling and now you only have 1 left, now you get to roll an 8-sided die. So potentially you can really move along the path very quickly. So I think that system is really ingenious, and I think it's a really smart way of representing the movement factor within a family of ducks. So I thought that was really cool. Now for the lame stuff. I think that one of the lame things about the game is the graphic design and the rulebook layout. Now, as I said before, the artwork is really cool, and I love the logo of the game. I love the, I love this. I love the lowercase font, the hand-drawn thing. I love that. But when you get into the rulebook layout and the graphic elements in the rulebook, and even on some of the cards, I do not like the font choices. I think it looks really boring. I think that they just, I don't know, it could have been done better. I think different fonts, different formatting could have really added to the whole experience that they had going with the artwork and the theme of the game. Another lame thing, I think that the rulebook could have been a little more detailed. I think it's a little bit oversimplified to the point where, when we're playing this game, we had some questions about how things worked, and they just weren't explained in the rules. For example, if you land on a biome and you flip it and you have to move back so many spaces, well, what if you can't move back so many spaces? The wording on the card makes it really confusing. Like, you're not sure if you can still move back as many spaces as you can. So let's say you have to move back 7, but you can only move back 4. It makes it sound on the card like you can move back that many spaces, but in the rulebook it makes it sound like you can't, and you're not really quite sure what you can do and what you can't do. So I think that they could have, maybe they could have detailed the rulebook a little bit more and explained some things and gone through a little bit more. And then there are also some typos and things like that. So they've got some room to grow in that area, I think, as a small, young group of people just starting out designing games. So another lame thing, or thing that I wish that they would have done, is actually added more Ducklings to the game, because I think there's 7 in the game, and so you play one game and you've already experienced 6 of them. So having more Ducklings would have done 2 things. It would have given you more talent choices, or more choices for abilities and more combinations, giving it a little bit more strategic play. And it also would have added to that emotional factor of the game, because once you play the game, once, you generally have read most of the eulogies on the back of the card, which I think is where a lot of that emotional stock is. You would have been able to then add more of that, because once you play the game, you've read the eulogies, and then if you read them a second or third or fourth time, it's like, okay, I've already read that. Yeah, it's touching, but whatever. It's not. I know what it is. It's nothing new. It's nothing exciting. So I think if they would have added more Ducklings to the game, that could have really helped. The last lame thing, or thing that I wish they would have done, is had more compelling choices on the biome cards, or just somewhere in the game, because the game really puts itself up as this, really emotional thing, and it's a game about choices and how far will you go to keep your Ducklings alive, and I didn't really feel like the choices in the game were really that compelling. Generally, you land on a card and it's like, move spaces or put an affliction token on. Every once in a while we found a gem in the deck of cards, but it was generally, I mean, pretty boring in a sense of you know, emotional choices or compelling choices. So I wish they would have really made you feel like, you know, you were losing something, like you were, you know, you were having to sacrifice something, and they did it a little bit with certain aspects in the game, but I think they could have. I think they could have done a little bit more with that, especially since that's really what the game boasts about. So Ducklings, overall, I think that it was definitely worth my money. I think it was worth me backing this project. I think it's a cool, interesting game. I think that it's got some really cool parts to it. My wife described it really well, and I'm not going to be able to quote her, but she said something to the effect of every game has a space to fill, right? Like, if you're just looking for a game that you can play after supper, that's, you know, quick and light, and just you can have conversation while you're playing, whatever. That is this game. I think that it is a good environment for that, and it fills that space. If you're looking for some, you know, deep heavy game, obviously that's not Ducklings, but I think overall it was an enjoyable experience. Is it going to be something that we bring to the table all the time? No. I think that it does have a specific space. I think that it's really enjoyable to play with other couples. I think that it fits well, obviously, because you're controlling a mother and father duck, so it works that way. But yeah, if this sounds interesting at all to you, go check it out. For a rating, I think that I would probably give it a rating of Duck Duck Goose, because it's really fun to play, you know, the first couple times, but after that, you know, you've lost a little bit of the magic, I think. So that was my opinion, my humble opinion of Ducklings. Again, thank you guys so much for checking out the channel, checking out this video. Hopefully it's helpful. Go ahead and subscribe, like the video, share it with your friends, check us out on Twitter, leave us a comment, communicate with us in some way, shape, or form. And we will see you later.